Hello, everyone, and welcome to Growing Kentucky's Leaders. I'm one of your hosts, Sheldon McKinney.
And I'm your other host, Ruth Ann Fink.
And today we get to introduce you to two more Kentucky FFA state officers. I think you're going to just be delighted by them and our conversation. I want to welcome to the podcast our state secretary, Emily Chunglo, and our state sentinel, Jameson Williams. So, you guys, welcome. And how about you each get started and just share with our listeners a little bit about your background, where you're from, your journey in FFA, and we'll start with you, Emily.
Okay, well, hello everybody. It is such an honor to be here. As you said, my name is Emily Chunglo. I'm from the Mercer County FFA chapter in the Bluegrass region, and I am absolutely honored and privileged to serve as this year's Kentucky FFA State Secretary. My FFA journey is a little unorthodox. I did grow up in an ag background.
Mhm.
I was raised on a beef farm in Mercer County where we have a registered Angus cow-calf operation as well as a small quarter horse operation where we offer boarding and I ride my horses as well. So I've been around agriculture my whole life, but neither of my parents, and in fact, nobody in my family, was actually involved in FFA. So I had no idea what FFA was until my sixth grade year. And it was at that point I decided I wanted to be in FFA. I remember I was so appalled that people didn't understand agriculture and didn't understand the agriculture industry. And then I went into my very first ag class, and I remember just feeling so at home there and feeling like this is what I want to do with my life. Never in my life had I been that excited over a class before as I was about agriculture because this was stuff I knew. This was stuff I felt passionate talking about because I'd grown up around it.
Mhm.
I am very active in my community. I currently attend Western Kentucky University, and I am double majoring in agriculture and communications. So I hope to either go into broadcasting or marketing with that degree. In any way, shape, or form that my career takes place, I just want to advocate for agriculture. So that's always been the main goal, and that's kind of who I am and why I'm here.
That's great.
Oh, thank you, Emily, for sharing. Jameson, what about you?
Yeah.
Who are you?
So, hello everyone. Like she said, my name is James Williams. I'm from Menifee County and in the Licking River region. And so, right now, I'm currently enrolled into Morehead State University, and I'm majoring in agricultural education, where the hope is to one day be an ag teacher. A little bit about my background in ag and FFA is that my FFA journey was also a little at a rough start at the beginning. Whenever I was a freshman, it was the COVID year, and so we didn't have a lot of in-school experience with FFA or ag until like the end of my freshman year. And so I just remember whenever I was going into my freshman year, looking at my schedule, my mom was talking about me being in ag classes because it's about agriculture and things like that. And right at that same time, I was getting into horses and helping my family, which right now we are raising, training, and breeding horses, Rocky Mountain horses, and I ride my horses as well. And that is one of my main SAEs I started out with. And so I just started getting into ag classes, and once I started, the journey started keep keep going. And I was introduced to FFA, which was something that I didn't really know a whole lot about either until I actually started getting into it. And I even remember whenever I was a sophomore, this is really where my FFA journey really actually took place because of all that COVID. It was just where I started, seeing what it was all about. I started doing public speaking and seeing how like that can help me and change my life as I'm going on throughout my high school career, and just keeping on doing that, practicing, building my own confidence up, and seeing what FFA could do for me and my future, and just getting to where I am right now. It's really a blessing that I never really thought of seeing whenever I was a freshman. But now I see that it's something that's really important, and I continue to also advocate for it. And it's just something that I'm really blessed and grateful to be a part of. So,
Mm. FFA can really take you places, and you all both have a really interesting path of when you got started. Emily, you were I'd say one of the first few middle school FFA chapters. There's not
Yes.
many people in your graduating class that got to be an FFA member as a sixth grader, seventh grader. That's pretty unique. And then Jameson, you as well. You've had both very unique experiences, but valuable experiences. So why don't you
Mhm.
share a little bit more about how your entire FFA journey, not just this year of service as a state officer, has helped shape you into young professionals and just helped your personal growth so far? Um, yeah, we'll start with you, Jameson.
Yeah, okay. So, like I said, whenever I started actually getting into FFA and getting all into everything that involves with it was the beginning of my sophomore year. And one of the main things I struggled with whenever I first joined FFA was confidence in myself, like public speaking confidence. I was a very shy person, didn't really like to speak up in groups or in class and stuff like that. And that is definitely one of the main things I see and I like to advocate for whenever we talk about FFA, because that was something that I struggled with. And really, where my personal growth journey started was I did started in horse public speaking at the beginning of my junior year. So I was also the strength and ag committee chair that year as an officer position. And just out of nowhere, I just started practicing my public speaking. I started getting really good at it. And that year also got first in my region for horse public speaking and went on to state. And that's really where my confidence started going up. And then from there, just kept on rising. After that, I became the regional secretary for Licking River region. And that was really one of the main things I see that really boosted my confidence to be where I'm at right now. Because after that, I also became chapter president, kept doing more horse public speaking and placing in that, and then just also doing a lot of team activities like agronomy that's also helped me be able to speak up in team environments and putting my ideas out there. And really, that's just the main thing that's really helped me is my confidence, and just now I'm able to actually speak. And it's really helped me in college too. With like I have a lot of ag classes, and that we talk about FFA a lot in it, and I've been able to speak up in those, and knowing that everybody is still agreeing with me because that's just my confidence is going up and being able to actually share my ideas and not be afraid like I used to be.
So, Jameson, your freshman year, COVID year, it was a hard time for so many students. Would you have said you were confident at that time, or did FFA, was it the reason?
It was all FFA. Ever since I was even a little kid, all the way up to my freshman year, I did not like. I was so shy, even in front of my family members. I wouldn't really speak a lot, and that was something that I definitely seen struggle with, and it was one of the main things FFA has helped me build up to where I am right now.
I think that's so great for our listeners to hear because if they're a student who's in class and you go like, oh my gosh, I see state officers who are speaking, they're going, they're doing all these things, to know that that's not where you started. That you had a starting point too, and it took years of practicing and building your confidence, and FFA helped you do that. But it's a
Exactly.
journey. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Emily, you
Emily?
shared that before the show that you've known Jameson for quite a while, so you could probably attest to that. Like you've watched Jameson's personal growth journey, not all thanks to FFA, but we want to hear from you too, Emily. How has FFA really helped shape you into, a young professional and helped you along your personal growth journey?
Yes, absolutely. Well, Jameson and I kind of met during a really formative part, and I think both of our lives. Jameson, was it your first national convention?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so it was both of our first national convention, and our chapters ended up being a part of a group of chapters that traveled together to national convention. And we toured all around Indianapolis together, and it ended up being a really formative experience for the both of us. We actually met in a line outside of O'Charlie's because we were waiting for our tables to be seated, and we ended up just talking each other's ears off about horses. And that was probably one of my favorite memories from national convention because getting to see where Jameson is now is really an attest to the incredible opportunities that you get through FFA and the incredible growth that happens through FFA. And my personal growth journey is somewhat similar to Jameson's, except it started a lot earlier. I started in FFA. I was in ag classes in the sixth grade, but I wasn't allowed to join until the seventh grade. And I absolutely loved every second of it. I immediately was chapter secretary of my middle school chapter. I jumped in head first. My parents like to say that before FFA, I didn't talk, and after FFA, I wouldn't shut up. So that is kind of a really turning point in my life where I learned I had a voice. And that is really the main thing that I've learned through FFA is that I have a voice and I am allowed to use it. And now I know how to use it and what I want to use it for. I said earlier that I am very passionate about agriculture advocacy, and that has carried throughout my FFA journey. I started out in extemporaneous speaking my seventh grade year. And that was a really amazing opportunity for me to learn more about agriculture issues in the world that I maybe don't have as much experience with. I come from a very small fraction of the entire agriculture industry. So being able to learn more about the different facets of the industry really helped me to learn more as an advocate and as a person.
Yeah.
I think as a leader, I have grown in my ability to make interpersonal connections. Obviously, throughout my state officer year, this has been huge, but also just throughout my life. As I said, Jameson and I met because of FFA. We met in the line in an O'Charlie's because we were able to have those interpersonal connections through FFA. So that is really something that has stuck out to me is how much I can relate to people now just because of my experience in FFA.
Yeah. FFA does make the world bigger and smaller at the same time.
Absolutely.
It shows you much more of the world and connects you to the people in it. Well, I want to maybe talk about your college journeys and experiences. You all are both freshmen in college right now.
Mhm.
And for students who may be listening or parents of future college students or current college students, I want to maybe talk about some tips that you will have for how you navigated choosing the right college for you, choosing your career path. And if you can maybe tell yourself something if you could go back and tell yourself something to prepare for this college experience, what would you do? So, Emily, let's start with you this time. How did you choose this path, and what tips do you have?
Okay. Well, WKU was actually not originally where I thought I would end up. I thought I was going to go to a really huge ag school, which WKU is an incredible agriculture school, do not get me wrong, but I thought I was going to go somewhere like UK or Purdue, and I was going to get an actual agriculture communications degree. But then I visited Purdue University, and while it is an incredible school, I realized that bigger schools just aren't for me. I don't want to feel like a number. And I actually was against going to WKU in the beginning because my mom went there and her parents went there and her brother went there. And I'm actually a legacy student here at WKU. And it was honestly just me defying that and not wanting to go where my mom went and not wanting to go where my grandparents went. And then I took a tour here and I met the teachers and I met the faculty and I saw the farm. And I think I literally said to my mom, dang it, it's awesome. Because I loved it here. I loved the community. I walked into the ag department and it felt like a high school ag department. It felt like everybody knew everybody. There were students stopping each other in the hallways to say hi. That's the kind of environment I knew that I wanted and I needed to grow as a person. So that was a really easy decision picking the school, especially because they have such a strong agriculture and communications department. And I was very adamant about getting a balance of both in my degree. And it's been the best experience. I chose agriculture communications both so I could have options in my career, but also because, again, I could advocate for agriculture in any way, shape, or form that I wanted to with an agriculture communications degree. So the choice for WKU was easy, but it took a while to get here.
Mhm.
And one big tip that I have is be patient. The first couple months of college, both for the parent and for the student, can be rough. I struggled to make friends. I struggled to find my place in the college. It felt so big to me. I felt like I was not prepared to be here. I was 17 when I moved into college. That is a big
Mhm.
deal for a 17-year-old to be dealing with. And I remember just feeling lost. But my biggest piece of advice is A, get involved, and B, have patience. Because while you may try to get involved in clubs, it'll take a while for you to actually build those connections. And I'm lucky enough to be at that point where I'm actually building those connections and getting plugged into programs because I stuck it out and because I waited. So don't freak out. Don't call your mom in a panic because you don't have any friends yet, because you will have friends. You will have people who recognize you in the ag hallway, and you will have a community surrounding you. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
Wow, that's great. Jameson, what about you? Tell us about your path and how you chose Moorhead.
Okay, so definitely one of the biggest pieces of advice or tips I can give for people going into college is that helped me pick Moorhead was to definitely take a lot of college tours, even if it's the same one over and over again. I've been taking a tour at Moorhead for I think think I did like 4 or 5 times for me to
Oh,
like
wow.
actually choose what I wanted to do. And it was definitely something that really reached out to me because Moorhead it really is a chill place for people to be able to go outside and, join a lot of clubs and also be able to study and know, like focus on what they actually want to do. Every day, just walking the atmosphere is really awesome. I just see people outside sitting on picnics, eating, talking, socializing, or even studying on their computers. And it is something that is really awesome, stuck out to me because I wanted to have that same experience of not being stressed all the time and always having an actual safe place to be able to do stuff. And also to help me pick this and with me going into agricultural education, we just got a new professor for our ag ed classes, and she is really awesome. She really makes it feel at home, and she used to be an ag teacher herself, so she has the same experience as everybody else does when it comes to missing out on things or even just FFA things. She has a really home feel to it, and she's really helped us be able to build this program up a little bit more. And it's just something that stuck out to me, and it's whatever, like, I just love coming up here, and I always look forward to going to college just because of the atmosphere, and the classes are great too. And definitely some of the biggest pieces of advice I would give for people going into college is to never be afraid to ask for help. Because you might at first, the first few weeks, the first year, the first semester, you might feel a little stressed. You have a lot of things that's going on to you for a lot of classes, a lot of homework. I just have to say, don't be afraid to ask your professors, parents, guardians, or anything to help you in anything that you're going to do or try to work on because they're here for you. They're not here to be against you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Speaking of advice, you all, this is another piece of advice I want to ask you on because we do have a lot of FFA members that listen to this podcast and they're ag classrooms and they might be sitting there thinking like, man, these guys are state officers. Like, how did they get there? I don't even know how to become a leader in my own chapter, or maybe I'm scared to take that jump. So what advice would you give to an FFA member that is thinking about taking on a leadership role in their local chapter? What advice would you give them? Because you all have served in many different leadership roles, but let's make this one like a rapid fire. Here's your best snapshot of advice for that local FFA member. Emily, we'll start with you.
Okay. Um, My biggest piece of advice for getting into a leadership role is just to ask. Your advisors want you there. Your advisors want you to be in that leadership role. And even if you think all the spots are filled, even if you think it's too late, even if it's halfway through the semester and things are rapid fire going crazy, ask because your advisors want you to be there and reach out to us. We will help you in those ways. We can help you to figure out what you want to do with leadership, but really just ask because you won't know until you ask what opportunities are available for you.
Oh, that's a great piece of advice. Jameson, what would you tell these FFA members?
I would tell them to just be involved as much as they can be, even if it's really early on or even later on. Just try to be as involved as you can be going into events or different type of competitions. Just be as involved as you can be because the advisors are going to see how much effort you're putting in, and they're going to push you to be into a leadership role and even ask you or give you to be an officer or anything like that. So definitely just trying to be more involved into anything you can try to find that you're interested in is definitely one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give because it really builds up your leadership skills in general, your communication skills. It fits everything. FFA and competitions fits everything.
All
That's
right, heard
great.
it here first. Hope they do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Kentucky FFA Foundation, we're philanthropy. We support FFA members like yourselves. For students who are listening and maybe they don't know what the foundation does, what are some ways you all have personally benefited from grants or sponsorships from the FFA Foundation, or ways you have got to witness the impact that we have in communities or in the lives of students? And we'll start with you, Jameson, this time.
One of the biggest scholarships that I've been able to benefit from the Kentucky FFA Foundation is the camp scholarship. So FFA camp is something for everyone. Everyone has a place in FFA camp whenever they're first starting out in their FFA journey, or like I said earlier, even later on. It has a place for everybody, and we've been able to get that scholarship and send some of our own students to FFA camp. And it really is a great foundation for members and officers to be able to put their first steps in, especially going into FFA, because there's so much things you can do, like socializing from people from all parts of the state even you can be as far east and still have friends and connect with people from far west. It really is something that you're able to connect with and have a bunch of networking opportunities, and also just having like those classes, like the officer classes that camp and like the officer team little get together so you can focus on your future and the chapter of well the future of your chapter as well. So it's something that has really helped me also start my foundation into going into my journey. And I know and seeing it at camp as a state officer is definitely helping a lot of people throughout the state as well, a lot of members that's helping them be able to build up their own confidence as well, and also just get a feel for networking and being able to make a lot of new friends.
That's great. Thanks, Jameson. Emily, what about you?
So I knew what the foundation was, and I actually served on the first generation of foundation ambassadors at the um, state level. So that was a really incredible experience for me, being able to kind of be behind the scenes and work with sponsors. But other than that, I hadn't really had a lot of interaction with the Kentucky FFA Foundation. Sure, my chapter had gotten grants from them. We got the Better Days Through Better Ways grant, where we got to make raised beds and we got to produce salad from that to feed our school, and that was incredible. But I hadn't really thought about how much it was impacting other people until I joined Kentucky FFA as a state officer, and actually until my brother started to get involved in FFA. My brother, shout out Seth, is 13, and he is currently serving as the middle school president at King Middle School FFA. So shout out to them as well. And he just applied for his very first jacket grant. And I remember sitting at the Blue and Gold Gala, which was an incredible event, by the way. And as they were bringing in donations for the jacket grants, I started to cry, which isn't off brand for me. I do tend to cry a lot. I tear up at a lot of things, but I it hit me emotionally because I realized that one of those grants was literally going to my brother. And that made me feel so good that the Kentucky FFA Foundation was able to do that for somebody like Seth. Because, I mean, yeah, he's going to see this, he's going to watch this, but he is one of the most hardworking kids I've ever met in my life. He is like an 85-year-old man in a 13-year-old's body. He loves agriculture and loves FFA with his whole heart. And it truly was inspiring because for the first time, I knew exactly what that was going towards. I knew who it was going towards, and I knew the impact that it would have on him to have a blue jacket with his name on it. So that's truly how I've seen Kentucky FFA and the Kentucky FFA Foundation impact somebody recently.
Oh, that's a really great story. That's special. We have great donors, like those people. I'm so glad you all were able to attend the gala and see I don't know, you could feel it was like you could just feel the spirit, feel the passion in that room that people truly care about the success of Kentucky FFA members. We couldn't do it without our donors. Well,
Absolutely.
as you all know, we always end our podcast episodes with the same three questions, and so this one is no exception to that at all. And our first question is just, what's the best piece of leadership advice you've ever received? Jameson, we'll have you start.
Yeah, okay. So the best piece of leadership advice that I've been able to receive was from my advisor, Mr. Cash, and it's stuck with me all the way up to now. And it was that no matter how hard you work for something, always look back on it and see what it's done for you, no matter if you're successful or not. And it really stuck with me because, like, even if you're working hard for something, you really want to complete something, and it's something that you don't end up being able to complete or go through with, you still got to look back on it and see, like, what it's done for you, how it's grown you as a person, how it's grown you as an individual, and how it's going to help you in your future and what you're going to do with that and going on and try to be successful, taking that piece of advice and going on with it.
The journey.
Yeah,
Emily?
absolutely. My biggest piece of advice didn't actually come in the form of words. Instead, it came in the form of actions. You see, my dad was actually incredibly involved within the Mercer County Cattlemen's Association, the Kentucky Cattlemen's Association, and our local Angus Association. So, growing up, I always saw him as a leader. He was always doing something. And if you know Adam Chunglo, you know he's a man of very few words, but they're very efficient words. And he's such a leader in his actions. He is constantly serving whatever organization he's a part of. He's constantly trying to help other people and trying to serve a something greater than himself. And growing up with that influence has truly been life changing for me because he never really had to say it, but just seeing him leading by example, he was always a servant leader. And that has stuck with me for a long time that whatever I'm doing, whether it's in my church or in FFA or at college now, I always want to be serving others when I'm leading. So that's definitely my biggest piece of advice I've gotten. And it's not even really advice.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah. Our lives are examples, how we live them. Well, this is the perfect opportunity then for me to ask you all to get to shout out somebody who's really poured into you with their time, talent, treasure, whatever it may be. You each get one person that you get to mention. So we're going to start. Emily, you get to go first. Who would you like to shout out who's played a pivotal role in your journey?
Okay, I'm going to shout out my advisor and the person who really took on training me to become a state officer and training me in that way and took me under his wing, and that is Chase Kokenauer. Mr. Kokenauer served as the 2018-2019 state Kentucky FFA state vice president, and being able to kind of be the first state officer that came out of his program and his legacy was amazing. He and I became very close, and he truly inspired me as a leader and as a professional. He's always been just kind to me from the first moment we met when I was a seventh grader and he was still a state officer. He was the first state officer I'd ever met. And he has truly poured a lot into me. He has taken days off of his summer vacation to come in and train me for state office. And that truly was a momentous part of why I'm here is because of him. So yeah.
He's a good one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Jameson, what about you? Who's your one person?
I'll have to go down the same route as Emily did, and I'll just say my advisor as well, Mr. James Cash. He also served as state officer. He was the state vice president, I think, 2015, 2016. And so, really, he's the one that pushed me to get me where I am today. He was the one that handed me an officer application. He didn't think I was actually going to go through with it, but I did, and he said he's grateful for that. But yeah, ever since, my like just trying to, like I said earlier, working on my confidence, he's the one that's definitely pushed me up with doing that, with pushing me to do public speaking and things like that, a lot of team building activities, and always trying to make me speak up in classrooms. And that is one of the main parts as well, is got my confidence up to get me where I am today. And even just pushing me to like work on interviews and things like that for even regional interviews or state office interview. He was the one that always tried to get me on task, always tried to get me to do stuff, and always trying to prepare me for any possible thing that could come at me that might trip me up or anything, because he knew that was something that I also struggled with, was speaking off the top of my head. So always just trying to get everything in every direction and pushing me to do what I need to do and pushing me to be the best person that I can be.
You all both have great ag teachers, and
Absolutely.
we know those two very well, and they're just wonderful. So I'm so glad that they were great influences in your life. And ag teachers make the world go round. Well,
Mm-hmm.
lastly, guys, we always ask, what is just something you're loving right now that's helping you grow? And I'm especially looking forward to your all's answers as young people. I feel like I always learn the newest things from you all. So, what is something you're loving right now that's helping you grow, Emily?
One thing that is really helping me grow, it's actually just a mindset that I've been trying out, especially going into my first year of college, and that is don't be afraid of trying something new. Throughout my high school career, I was FFA centered. Sure, I was involved in other things, but I really was centered around FFA. And while that's a really good thing, and I'm so happy with where it brought me, as I enter this new stage of my life, I want to try new things. I want to get outside my comfort zone. And through that, I've met some incredible people. I'm now a part of a Bible study with people I previously had never met before in my entire life. I am part of a sorority. I'm part of the agriculture sorority here at WKU, Sigma Alpha. And that has been an incredible experience getting to meet other young women in agriculture. So it's really more of a mindset that has helped me grow, is just don't be afraid of trying something new every once in a while.
Absolutely. What about you, Jameson? What are you loving right now? It's helping you grow.
I thought Emily had a great answer as well, keeping that mindset. For me, it's definitely just staying laid back and relaxed as much as I possibly can be. There's no point in being stressed, and it's something that I've always kept it with me throughout my whole life that I also used help implement in FFA, was staying positive. I used to have this saying that was positivity runs in my veins, and it's just something that I always live by and try to keep on. And positivity is something that really keeps me going. I also was and wrote this down too. A little thing that's helping me with this journey right now was I talked to Miss McKinney, I think like last month, and I talked about one of the main things that's stressing me out is my keeping up with all my calendar events and everything that's going on.
Mhm.
And one of the main things that's really helping me is I bought this little desk calendar for my desk in my room. And so writing stuff down, going on with state office has really helped me keep those in line and what I need to do.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Jameson, to my heart. Thank you. That is a simple thing. I do get the honor of coaching state officers. I've coached a lot, a lot. And it is a simple thing to talk to them about managing time and scheduling. And
Mhm.
you, if you feel like, oh my gosh, I feel so overwhelmed, it really is that writing down, here's the time I have classes, here are my commitments. And then looking at those big gaps of time and going, how can I fill that positively? How can I do my homework during this 2 hour break instead of scrolling TikTok? And managing your time well lets you be less stressed and more positive because you've managed that time. And it's a simple thing like a calendar. Yeah.
Exactly.
Jameson, you might have to send me the link to that.
Yeah,
I
it's a
might need to,
calendar.
yeah, I might need to look into that.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. It's awesome. It helps me out really well.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, send us the link, Jameson, and maybe we'll share your calendar in the show notes. But they come on your phone. You could print them off the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's many places that you can get a calendar. That's awesome. I love that you said that. Well, guys, thank you for being with us. I hope that students who are listening to this, donors who are listening to this, understand that we're in good hands. Agriculture is in the future, and that it's worth supporting young people like you guys who are in the big. You're at not the beginning of your FFA journey, but you're at the beginning of your leadership journey in life, and
Mhm.
you're doing a great job. And so, thank you all for being on the show and sharing with us.
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
having us. It's been
Yeah, thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, and guys, join us next time on our next episode of Growing Kentucky's Leaders. Growing Kentucky's Leaders is a podcast brought to you by the Kentucky FFA Foundation. Our music is performed by Bourbon County FFA member Joe Fritch. Artwork is by Julie Fritch Creative. Your hosts are Sheldon McKinney and Ruth Ann Fink, and you can find us on all social platforms at Kentucky FFA.